Hello everyone, my name is Michelle Reese for July 2012, and today I'm going to be walking you through how to use Stratus MLS to create a comparative market analysis and generate reports from that system. So to begin, we're going to be entering our unique information into the Stratus welcome screen to log into Toronto MLS. Once you're in, you're going to select Search Properties to get us to the main frame of the program. And then along the top here, you will see a series of tabs, and we're going to select CMA. When you open up the program, you've got three options to the left: use existing CMA, create a new CMA, and delete CMA. We're going to select create a new CMA, and we're going to give it a unique name so that down the road you'll be able to easily identify which property this was for. I would suggest if you could also include a year or some sort of date. As you get busier, you may end up repeating certain street addresses. This property is a freehold, so I'm going to leave it to the default freehold tab, and I'm going to click Create. Once the screen opens up, it allows us to have options here for the different tabs, which are really the different sections of the report that's available for a comparative market analysis. You can select a tab specifically, but for the purposes of this demonstration, we're going to allow it just to go through the course by default. So first thing we're going to do here is look at the client information screen. This is where you'll be able to put in the information of your prospective client or the homeowners that you're looking to do the comparative market analysis for. Now, depending on whether or not you're going to be using this system for printing out reports, you might want to get a little bit more detailed as it will appear on the report itself. So you want to take a look at how that's going to be working. So once we put in the information here, I'm just going to put in the minimum of the homeowners' names and the street address or their home address. And I'm going to select Next. It now brings us to subject property. So as you'll see, we're moving through, it'll just go towards this option. Next will be salesperson, then title page. On the subject property, if I had known that this property was listed on MLS previously, I could insert the MLS number here, select yes where it says do you want to include subject property in the CMA, and then when I select use, it'll bring forth all the information in terms of room measurements, dimensions into the actual comparative market analysis. But for the purpose of this demonstration, I'm going to assume it has not been on MLS before. So I'm going to go ahead and input the information. Municipality is Richmond Hill. I do not have the postal code, so I'm not going to be putting that in at this point, but it's asking me for area and community. Now, for those of you who may not be familiar with the new TREB districting remapping, you can go up to the top here where it says redistricting map. If you select that, it'll allow you to bring up the different types of map areas, and you can locate it based on city and zero in from there. So just so you know that you have that option. And I'm going to go right to South Richvale because that is the community name. Suggested list price, if I had already known what the price range was going to be that I'm recommending, I would put that in here. For this purpose, I'm going to leave that blank, and I'm going to show you why later on. But I'm just going to put in now the most relevant details. This property is a detached two-story. I'm going to assume that I do not know the age. I will say that it has 4 bedrooms. 4 bedrooms. 3 bathrooms. I'm going to assume that I do not know if the property has a finished basement or walkout. And if I do know that it has gas and forced air, I will input that here. And you basically go through the series of information here, inputting the various information that you would have received from the homeowners upon your first pre-qualification phone call, and or if you've gone through a tour of the property. I do happen to know that the property is 75 by 120 feet. Now, if I was driving around the property or had the opportunity to go by the property and take a photo, I would upload that photo into the program so that on the title page it actually identifies the property photo, which personalizes it just a little bit. Before I click Next, I'm just going to review here, and I'm going to select Save CMA. At every point during the creation of the CMA, you want to be selecting Save CMA. Sometimes TREB will boot you out. You may have computer difficulties, so you want to make sure up to this point that everything you've entered has not been lost. Salesperson information pulls the information via default that is stored and recorded in the Toronto MLS under your profile. So if this information is not correct or you do want to change it, you have two options. You can either manually override it, or if you go into the Info Center and go into your portfolio, you can then update the information from there. I'm going to select Next. We're going to leave by default the check there is include office logo at the top of the page. We will leave that. The title of this report is Comparative Market Analysis, and it's showing now based on that information I've entered under client information. It will now show prepared for, and it puts the homeowner's information in there. If you wanted to take a look at how that previews, you would select the Preview tab, and you can scroll down and see how that looks. If you had uploaded a photo, it would appear right underneath the title of Comparative Market Analysis. Okay, so we're going to close that off now. And we're going to go to Save CMA and click Next. The program automatically creates a cover letter for you. Therefore, if you wanted to leave the contents or parts of the contents of the comparative market report with the homeowners, it just includes a brief cover letter. You can, again, override the text and basically write in anything you'd like, or you can leave it as is, or you may choose not to include the cover letter into the report that you'll be using for your comparative market analysis. When we're pulling up the search criteria, now this is where we're telling the system where to look and what information you want it to search for. You're going to be choosing available, sold, and I'm going to recommend you select expireds as well. You won't necessarily use the expired listings into your report, but it's good to have that available to you so that if you do come down to a price objection and perhaps the seller wants to price it a little bit higher than what you're recommending for market value, you have that information available to be able to educate them on what previous homeowners have listed for and how long it's been on the market for, and why they ended up changing the price. We're not going to have it searched by price range because, again, we want it to get a little bit more specific, but we are going to have it searched by date range. And I'm going to suggest you go back 6 months, start from there, and then you can tailor that either more specific or go back a little bit further depending on the amount of results that are generated from the program. So I'm going to go back to January 1st to today's date. And the area that I'm going to have it select is York, Richmond Hill, and then we're going to go specifically to the community of South Richvale. There's a tab here that says under number 9, enter edit additional search criteria. We're going to select that, and this is where we're going to be able to now add a little bit more specific requirements for the program to be able to search out the comparables. I'm going to choose for sale. I'm not going to designate this to a specific street address, but if you were, let's say, perhaps representing a buyer and they wanted a quick comparative market analysis on that street to find out what's gone on, you can definitely put the street name in here or a variation of additional street names. For the purpose of this, I'm going to leave it to the selected community of South Richvale and see what what results are generated from there, and then I can always go back and re-edit this information to get a little bit more specific if I need to. Alternately, if perhaps, let's just say South Richvale was a very general area where it had pockets of high-end homes, pockets of townhomes, pockets of detached homes, and that would skew the results, I can go in using the MapQuest book and insert the map column and row, and I can zero in on a specific geographic area. I'm going to be asking the system to search detached homes because that's what the subject property is, and two-story. And in terms of the number of rooms, again, I'm going to go back and see if we can just have it compare 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. We're going to assume that we don't know about the basement, how many kitchens it has, the age of the property. I can put in gas, forced air because I do know that that's available. And I'm going to leave the rest of them blank. Again, sometimes with Toronto MLS, the more specific you get or the more information you give it, the less results you get in return. So we want to start from a more general basis, really looking at apples to apples. So we really want to make sure that the actual structure of the home, that being a detached two-story, is what we're comparing it to, and the number of bedrooms and bathrooms as well. So we're going to click Save CMA. Previous, and over here it's going to show just a snapshot of what we had inputted into the search criteria. If I had specific MLS numbers that I knew that we wanted to include in the report, I can actually insert those directly into the system. At this point, I'm going to be selecting Submit, and that's where it's going to now start generating the results from Toronto MLS. It's bringing up 57 records, and as you can see, it's showing me variation of price changes, what's new, sold, and if I go down to display all, and we'll just let that generate, it'll show price change, new, sold, and expireds as we've asked it to. Now, I can take a look at this right now very briefly, and I can take a look at the snapshot of what it's telling me, and we've got prices starting anywhere from the 600s going all the way up to 2 million, 4 million. So based on this result right here, I can actually narrow it down even further without having to go back and change my search results or the information that I've inputted into that last screen. I am guesstimating at this property is somewhere between the 800 to 900,000 up to the low 1 million. So I'm going to be going, and you can see here some of the properties are actually on that particular street of Windermere. So we know that this is sort of the high-end range. So I'm going to select these ones in terms of what's sold. I'm going to leave from 779 all the way up to that 1 million mark. The rest of them are actually outside of the price range. If there was anything particular on Winchester Lane, I would have selected those under the expireds, but I'm not going to include these expireds just yet. And anything new that's sort of within that price point, I'm going to be including as well into the report. Right about up to there. So I've selected the ones that I want to include. Now, if you weren't sure based on what to include, now I'm familiar with the specific area, so I'm very quick right now to be able to select which ones I want to be using in my comparables. But if I did not know, I'm going to recommend that you go into the view mode and just view each MLS listing, and you'll be better be able to identify which ones you want to include or not. You're going to have to go through each listing anyways, but at this point, if you wanted to do it right now, you could just select the view mode and view each listing and then select it as you go from there. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, and I'm going to select Use Selected Records as CMA Comparables. If by chance it pulled up results that I didn't want to use anything, I could actually select Return to CMA without selecting any comparables, and it'll bring me back to that search results screen, and then I can re-edit the information. So now it's going to be bringing in all of the information that I've asked it, or all the property listings that I've asked it to select. It's showing me I've got 21 comparables, 11 that are available, 12 sold, and I have not selected any expireds. 21 is quite a high number to be able to include in the actual results, especially when you're presenting to a particular seller. You really want to zero it in down to those that are most comparable. So at this point, I'm going to let it generate the results based on 21 because I want to be able to preview it and take a look at the statistics, and then I can go back into my Save CMA and re-edit that information and just include the comparables that I would like it to have available. In terms of edits and adjustments, unless you are a certified property appraiser, you're not going to be utilizing this screen. So we're just going to leave this blank. We're going to select Save CMA and hit Next. Marketing plan, if you already knew what information you wanted to have available in terms of how you were going to market the property, so if you're going in on a listing information, you knew you wanted to do an agent open house, you could actually input that here. Agent open house. And you could say, actually pick a specific date. So in our area, we know that the open houses are Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I will say July 10th, 2012 is my projected date of when I would like to schedule an agent open house for this particular listing. I can add another activity here and do a public open house. Let's just say on the 14th, which would be a Saturday. And if I knew any publications, local newspapers that I wanted to have this information included in, I could also record that here as well. But just for the purposes of so you get an idea of what it looks like, I'll select preview, and you can sort of just see it generates just a general list of the information or the type of activity that you'd like to be doing for this particular property. So I'm going to select Save CMA and Next. Financial information, that function is not available, so we'll be able just to skip right over that. And now we get down directly to the presentation contents. Here you can select what it is that you want to have printed. Now for the purposes of this being the first time we're doing it, I'm going to just recommend you select everything so that you can get an idea of the different types of formats that are available to you. Save CMA, just to be sure. And when I select Print CMA, it's going to bring up another screen. And then you'll be able to view the report directly online. There's our title page, there's our cover letter, the subject information. So again, as much information as you can gather about that subject property, you can identify and it'll appear on the subject property information screen. And then it's going to show you a series of reports, and you get an idea of how you want it to be able to present it. This is a listing comparison, so it just takes a snapshot and goes down in a row so you can get a quick idea and quick glance at how it compares to your subject property, which would be this particular property right here. And so it takes a look through, so we're going to scroll past the listing comparison. This is a comparable summary report. It gives a snapshot of the average list price, the average sold price, average days on the market, and so it gives you another opportunity or option here for being able to describe or showcase what information you'd like to bring forth to the seller during the comparative market analysis, and it breaks that up based on solds available, and if I had chosen expireds, it would have done the same thing for expireds. In terms of the actual listings, you have the option of printing either two to a page, which is what this format is showing you here. I'm going to recommend that when you are actually printing the report and sitting down with your prospective client that you use the one per page. Reason being, you'll notice that the remarks section is cut off when you do two per page, and sometimes there's relevant information that are located in the remarks section that you want to bring to their attention, perhaps if they have stainless steel appliances, if there was anything that was particular about this property that would be able to help you compare it to their subject property. So I would recommend, again, when you go back in for your final print, that you use one per page. And now from this screen you have the option using either saving this, emailing it, or printing it off. And so when I close that screen, I'm going to select Save CMA once more. And I'm going to go back to a search screen and pretend that we're done with the CMA. Let's assume now we've gone through all of the MLS listings that printed out, and now we wanted to make some final adjustments and changes. Maybe you have more information about the subject property, you've now got a photo to upload, or you really wanted to narrow down the information that you have available for the MLS comparables. If I go back into my CMA, here would be my Winchester 2012, and I can continue from there and be able to edit any of the data, relevant data, and initiate the report and then work from there. I hope that helped. Thank you for allowing me to showcase this to you, and I look forward to speaking with you soon.